todos os empregados, eliminando toda sua fonte de receita e causando a dissolução de uma estrutura empresarial. Com ação judicial, a afiliada queria 5 anos de contrato com a rede, além de diversos outros pedidos feitos para a Justiça do Rio de Janeiro.
This week we'll go after the crafty brook trout and show you just how you can catch a big one of your own.
Who's calling? Miss Bossy? I don't think so.
Go away. Hey, since when do you have an answering machine? Pick up the phone, Mr. Grumpy. Mr. Grumpy. Oh, forget it.
I think I like this answering machine business.
It is very important to have patience when going after the brook trout. It also helps you start a fast food supply at the end of your life.
Go away. Hello there, Mr. Grumpy. It's Mr. Nosy. I know you're there because I can see your car in the driveway. Why aren't you answering your phone?
Because I'm watching my fishing program.
Great to make a lick at it. He's home, but not answering his phone. Perhaps we should go over and make sure nothing is wrong. Gosh, good idea, Mr. Small.
No, bad idea, bad idea.
trout and show you
I don't
just how
understand
you
it.
can
It's
catch a
getting
big one
shorter.
of your own.
Phone bad, phone bad. Can we
Who's
have a
calling?
phone bad alarm for this one? I've seen beauty in people who were called ugly, and I've seen the devil in the most angelic faces. What does Johnny Depp have to do with this dumb goddamn quote? In ancient Greece, slaves were not allowed to physically train lest they grow strong and revolt against their masters. I think about this a lot. Okay. How much you want to bet any one of these guys could whoop your ass? When I see my best friend crying, who do I have to kill? You're so tough. Be honest. Is it too much lettuce? You're a man. You eat meat, 'cause lettuce is for the gays and women. Picture with a deep message. Love your parents before it's too late. I think a lot of us do, unless they don't deserve it. Yeah, that's right. Sometimes they don't. My mouth is not a bakery. I don't sugarcoat anything. If you ask my opinion, I'm going to tell you the truth, not what you want to hear. Deal with it. I don't get how Stitch really falls into your edgy I'm better than everybody else and I say it like it is mindset meme, but you do you, I guess. Wow, you're such a trailblazer. You tell it like it is. Some people are truly great manipulators. They can lie, cheat, treat you badly, and somehow manage to make it all seem like your fault. That's true. I guess. What a dumb f***ing image. Phone bad. Cell phone bad, everybody. God, look at images from the 40s and 50s of people just sitting on the train or waiting for the bus or something like that and tell me what they're doing. Oh no, they're not looking at their cell phones. They're all shoving their fucking faces into newspapers, avoiding each other. Humans have always found ways not to actively stare at and talk to strangers when they don't feel like they want to. So, grow the fuck up with your arrogant ass outlook on life. Don't get annoyed by parents asking you stupid tech advice you think they should know easily. These are the people who taught you how to use a toilet. Just help them. Yes, these are the people that taught me how to do very, very simple, necessary things. They're supposed to be smart people. I told my mom one day, look, you gotta try and learn this yourself. And you know what? She did it. And now she's totally fine. Because surprisingly enough, all this is very simple and easy to learn if you take more than 8 microseconds out of your goddamn day to do it, instead of trying to force me to take several hours out of my day to do it for you, where you learn nothing. Seriously, you guys about our grades and how stupid we are, and then you turn around and pull this crap. Take a second to learn. It's not that hard. Phone bad, 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 phone kill, phone bad. Oh my god, all of these are just phone bad. Seriously, I feel like we need some kind of alarm that can go off. I feel like 95% of terrible Facebook memes are about how cell phones have ruined society. Okay, here we go. Let's see. Inflation. Finally, help has arrived. Actually, we're here to audit you. What? A bad job with a good boss is better than a good job with a bad boss. Yeah, 100% facts. A day in the life of a leftist. Wake up at noon, McDonald's, charge their phone, twerk, be bisexual, eat hot chip, lie, bed. I actually have no criticisms for this image. That's actually 100% true. It's like this dude has been watching my life. How do you do that, man? Sometimes holding on does more damage than letting go. Just let go, you'll do less damage. I learned that on Facebook. You see, I liked this one though. I've seen that one before. I can't get it off. Dude, that's because your caps lock is on. I don't know why. But the whole image is actually made funny by the tiny little face on that monitor. Loyalty isn't gray, it's black and white. You're either loyal completely or not loyal at all. And people have to understand this. You can't be loyal only when it serves you. And I'm starting to feel like loyalty as a concept is very detrimental and scary and gross and turns people into weirdos. Also, what does this have to do with Thor? No, I'm not even quit putting random celebrities over your bullshit quotes, please. Seriously, stop. You mad that I 20 times more girls than you? No, I can't do Snapchat or TikTok, but I can write in cursive, do math without a calculator, and tell time on a clock with hands. Wow, that's crazy. I'm willing to bet I'm at least 20 years younger than you, and I can do all of that too. Although math without a calculator will take me about 6 hours longer. You're so much better than everyone else because you don't use Snapchat or TikTok. Always remember, folks, you are literally a superior human being if you don't do things that people younger than you do. Seriously, it's how it works. The older generation always wants to call us arrogant, self-entitled pieces of shit. But I don't know. I think we're all assholes. Deep. Okay. A pic with a message. Oh, here's another one. Phone bad, book good. Phone bad, book good. I guarantee you if everyone read books the same way we look at our phones, which, by the way, you can technically read stuff on your goddamn phone, these memes would just be saying the same thing in reverse. I swear to God, this is so stupid. Taylor Swift writes whiny songs about all her exes. Stevie Nicks made her ex play guitar while she sung songs about what an asshole he was. And there you have it. The diffing difference between boomers and millennials. Yeah, that's totally the entire story. That's the difference right there. You want to know the truth about boomers? Go listen to it from the boomer's mouth himself, Mr. George Carlin. I'm not kidding. Look up George Carlin boomers and then watch that video. Was right. Don't give me your attitude unless you want mine. Okay, Susie. I'll give you all the fucking attitude I want. Your attitude ain't shit. Let's go. Okay, now this is a weird phone bad one. So, by looking at her phone at night instead of going to bed, the evil gremlin imp people are going to eat her? I was waiting for the elevator when I randomly said Aloha Mora way too loud as the door opened. A girl looked at me in confusion and was like, "What?" And a guy looked at me as he smiled and whispered, "Muggles, made my day." Oh, you actually put a clapping image afterwards. Yeah, everybody clapped, right? Yeah. Internet, water. I also love this dumb little meme load of bullcrap where the internet is now evil and bad. Look, there's a lot of creepy shit that goes on the internet. I mean, look where you are. You're watching a man read memes. But we gotta stop pretending like the internet is all 100% bad and not a necessity to be a human in civilization these days, for the most part. There are plenty of parts in the world where they get on just fine without it. But, I mean, think about it. If you live in the United States, you don't have internet in any way, oops, guess you don't get to work or apply for jobs or gain access to information without going to the goddamn library. Thank God for libraries, by the way. Bro, lion, maybe the king of the jungle. But the wolf never performs in circus. Yeah, lions totally applied for that job, and they totally do it. On purpose. It's all on purpose, man. Wow, this shit is so dumb. I'm so tired of people comparing themselves to wolves and lions. I'm a badass, and you're a queer. I don't know. They say all kinds of stupid shit, man. And no, I don't need people coming after me on Twitter because I used the word queer. Chill the f*** out. We're reading terrible Facebook memes, okay? It's not that deep. None of this is to be taken seriously. Take a deep breath. Warning, no Wi-Fi zone. Talk to each other. Pretend it's 1995. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm not comfortable talking to random goddamn people, and I guarantee you if I went up to a stranger in a coffee shop or wherever we are and tried to strike up a conversation, they're going to be very uncomfortable and not want me to talk to them because we don't like doing that. I don't know you, you don't know me, and you're going to be annoyed by me talking to you. So yeah, let's pretend like it's 1995. Hey, you going to sleep? Yes, now shut up. Every C in Pacific Ocean is pronounced differently. This feels like it belongs in a different sub. Don't worry, old girl. We're coming. No, we're not. What does this even mean, and why does she only have 4 fingers and toes? Female injustice. 2 months later, 2 minutes later. Okay. It do be like that. Girls that grew up without a father. Boys that grew up without a father. Isn't Asuka like 12 in that series? Can we chill on using her for literally anything? I don't care what it's for. It just feels weird, man. Stop. Give me free pizza. Give me 50% off pizza. What? My papa is new car. Is her father is a transformer? What? Oh, here guys, we got a phone bad comic. I'm sending you an article about the importance of bonding with your children. Cool. Hey mom and dad, you want to play outside with me? Not now, bud. We're reading about being good parents. doesn't happen, doesn't happen, doesn't happen, doesn't happen, doesn't happen. Many people believe the most frequently washed body part in 2021 was the hands, but in fact it was the brain. Wearing mask makes you stupid. No, actually, wearing mask has kept me from getting COVID. Never once had it. Never once. Why? Because I'm not a dip and I listen to the people that are smarter than me. Before smartphone, danger, stay away. After smartphone, nope, not true. Not true at all. You gotta stop making shit up. Phone bad, internet evil. The nuclear family has been torn apart by awful advancements in dirty technology. Oh no. 1996, 2016. Dude, that guy's tats are sick as Maybe you should mind your own business and not worry about what other people do with their own body. I know that's hard for a lot of people like you, but yeah, mind your own mother business. He might be a felon, but he's the reason I fell in love. Okay, well, that's actually at least slightly cute, but whatever. Much of the world has forgotten about God, but I've got a feeling he's about to remind us just
This week
who
we'll
he
go
is. What, you don't think he's going to remind you too? First of all, God's totally a woman. And second of all, what makes you think that you're not part of the judgment? People like this make memes for days about how, we forgot God, so on and so forth. But God's going to judge everybody, right? Everybody. You don't just get like an Insta pass. You got to judge you too. And I know damn well you done some stupid that he knows about, or excuse me, she knows about. If hard works pays off, show me a rich donkey. What the does that mean? Oh, look, another phone bad. Except in this one, for some strange reason, we have robots drawing and reading. How dare those stupid robots bury their dumb faces in a book and drawing? Why don't they socialize with other robots? Studies have proven that engine brakes make less noise than a semi crashing into your living room. This is the saddest reality of today's generation. I don't see any reality at all going on here. What the are you talking about? I'm so confused by so many of these. Okay, yep, shove a bunch of books and shit down this guy's throat. He pukes it all up, and then he gets a degree and forgets everything. Great. More phone bad. Would you look at that? Okay. My favorite tea? It's actually you. Shaw tea. Yeah, okay. In this generation, it's very hard to find true, loyal, and lovely friend. I'm shocked. Because of how did you find me? Yay! Lumber shortage, worker shortage, rubber shortage, gas shortage. You know what we don't have a shortage of right now? Dumbasses. We have never, ever in history had a shortage of dumbasses. And you know it. Time for you kids to play outside. Fine. Now video game bad. I'm surprised it took us this long to get to video game bad. You know what? Bravo! Credit where credit is due. It took us this many posts to get there. Today's reality. Smartphone users versus blind people. Your results aren't good. Do you smoke or drink alcohol? I drink it. That's a fantastically awful edit. Son, Dad, I want to marry. Dad, say sorry. For what? Say sorry. But for what? You first say sorry. But what's my fault? You first say sorry. At least tell me the reason. First say sorry. Okay, Dad, I'm sorry. Now you're ready for marriage, my son. Your training is complete. You've learned to say sorry without any reason. Haha. Women are evil. Women are evil. Women are evil. Ha, ha, ha. Wife bad. Genuinely concerned about the boomer generation and the generation right afterward because it just seems like they've always hated each other, right? It feels like there's just no genuine love for people from those generations at all. They just constantly shit on each other like it's their fucking job. Plymouth Rock, 1620 at sea level. Plymouth Rock, 2022, still at sea level. What else is there to say? Oh, this is a climate change is fake one, right? Is that what we're doing now? Life is about kicking ass, not kissing it. I thought this was gonna go a different direction. I'm kind of disappointed it didn't go the way I thought it was gonna go. That is the ugliest image I've ever seen. Near future game show. Sorry, Arthur, your answer was actually correct, but Paul shouted his opinion louder, so he gets the point. And an extra bonus point also goes to Sue, as she was offended by your answer. Ha ha ha. Young people are offended by everything. Yeah, I get it. Kids, legends, tag a legend. Oh, God. If you can't tell by now that society is being programmed, then you've been perfectly programmed. Right, and you're the wolf amongst the sheep, right? You're the badass who absolutely doesn't fall for the propaganda. You're the smart boy. You're better than all of us. You know the real truth. And in that truth, you decided to post a meme on Facebook, the program that is indeed programming you so well. But whatever, we'll talk about that some other time. What you think you look like when
This
you
week
wind up a
we'll go
girl at
after
the
the
club?
crafty
What
brute
she
folk and
sees?
show
The
you-
only thing I'm seeing here is this little fella on the left here was the guy from Sonic the Hedgehog 2, dude! Phone booth in 1992. Phone booth in 2022. Not completely true, because the phone booth from 2022 was also in the 90s. Have you ever seen that episode of Friends where Joey gets an apartment and he's got a phone next to his toilet? Yeah, come on. Okay, this one's probably the single dumbest thing I've ever seen. Okay, right, phone bad, bird see man in cage, look at phone. The holy trinity of uselessness. Engineer, human resources, and safety guy. Well, human resources sucks ass because they're there to protect the multi-billion-dollar corporation and they're not there to protect you. But what's wrong with the engineer? You know, the guys, the men and women that have invented everything we use today? Literally everything? Think about it. What have you used in your much better job? Are you a coal miner? A train engineer? What do you work in? Cool, everything you've ever made has been invented by a guy with an engineering degree. What the f*** are you talking about? Never apologize for being correct or for being ahead of your time. If you're right and you know it, speak your mind. Even if you're a minority of one, the truth is still the truth. Okay. $15 per hour. Guy goes into a bar. There's a robot bartender. Since the minimum wage was increased to $15 per hour, the owner had to replace his regular human bartender. The robot says, "What'll you have?" The guy says, "Martini." The robot brings back the best martini ever and says to the man, "What's your IQ?" The guy says 168. Okay. The robot then proceeds to talk about physics, space exploration, and medical technology. The guy leaves, but he's curious. So he goes into the back of the bar. The robot bartender says, "What'll you have?" The guy says, "Martini." Again, the robot makes a great martini and gives it to the man and says, "What's your IQ?" The guy says 100. The robot then starts to talk about NASCAR, Budweiser, and John Deere tractors. The guy leaves, but finds it very interesting, so he thinks he'll try it one more time. Blah, 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 blah. Let's see. What's your IQ? About 50. The robot leans in real close and says, "So you people still happy you voted for Biden?" There it is. I was waiting for that one. Damn. Woo, can we get an applause for this? One of the worst Facebook posts of all time. I think we can put this in the Hall of Fame, you know what I'm saying? Parenting 1974 style. "Mom, I'm really ill. I think it's appendicitis. Drink this and watch Finger Bobs. You'll be fine." This is too British for me to understand. I know what Lucasade is, but what the hell are you talking about?
A silent and deep message. Sorry, I see some exposed skin. I just can't control myself. You know, because wearing shorter pants has totally got to do with being, dirty and naughty. Nothing to do with maybe it's really just hot outside and the devil's actually considerate towards your body temperature.
Hey, what you doing, Angel? It's the hottest day on record out here.
If she gets heat stroke, she'll die quicker, and I get really lonely up there in the clouds.
Warrior 12.
What is that even?
Doesn't matter. American flag shield. Women are now looking over at their man, wondering if he could hunt, make a fire, fight, shoot, and eat a tangible carrot.
Only true alphas can eat tangible carrots.
Now they're second-guessing those skinny jeans.
Because nothing defines an alpha better than a man being concerned over the testicular breathing space of another man's genitalia. I'm not uncomfortable.
Do you know what the top Google search result for Geometry Dash is? Maybe it's the game's Steam page? Wow, this video turned out great! An exposal of a fake Geometry Dash website and how it's stealing popular Scratch projects. It's a good thing I never have to think about this ever again. It all makes sense!
Craig, is that you? No one's heard from you in weeks, ever since you started rambling about that fake Geometry Dash.
What do you know about fake Geometry Dash? Do you have any idea what I've been through?
You just
One
heard-
games,
This
Geometry
week we'll
Light,
go after
Egg
the
Dash.
crafty
What are you
brute
talking
folk,
about?
and
You're
show
not
you-
making any sense.
You
Oh,
just
trust
heard
me,
you-
I
This
am.
week we'll go after the
There is
crafty
so
brute
much to
folk and
uncover.
show you.
Come here. I'll tell you everything. And I mean everything. So, a while back I made a video where I investigated those fake Geometry Dash websites you might have seen. Long story short, they take advantage of the fact that Geometry Dash is a game you have to install through the App Store or Steam or whatever. However, there's a surprisingly large demographic, mostly children, that think that you can just search the game up on Google and immediately start playing, no download required. Alternatively, maybe they just have a device like a Chromebook where they can't install Geometry Dash. So what these sites do is simple. They call themselves Geometry Dash, work their way up Google search, and then when someone clicks on it, they have a Geometry Dash to play, usually with a ton of ads where all the money goes to the website and none goes to RobTop, the developer of the game. In other words, it's a scam and you shouldn't fall for it. Now, obviously, you can't just put actual Geometry Dash on a website. Porting this game to a web browser would probably require remaking it from the ground up. Fortunately, some people have actually done this. The majority of these websites would present you with Geometry Dash V 1.5, a remake of the game made in the building block programming language Scratch by the legend himself, Griffpatch. But although it's impressive for Scratch standards, you can't really pass this off as the real thing. But to the people foolish enough to think that they're playing real Geometry Dash on a website, this was enough. Scratch Geometry Dash actually came with a level editor, so it would go on to develop a bit of a community. People would remix it and build their own levels, and others would go on to add new objects and mechanics. One scratcher in particular, iPhone AT&T Time Warner Cable 115, made it their mission to remake as many real GD levels in Scratch as possible, from level easy to change of scene to everything in between them. No lie, there's literally thousands. Are they good? Not really, in fact most are barely even playable, but I see it as more of an art form. It's super respectable in my eyes, and it's done as a passion project. But the fake Geometry Dash websites quickly took notice, and this was a gold mine to them. Now they could clickbait hundreds of real GD levels, serve up the Scratch versions, which they stole, and profit from all the ads around it. They also have these really funny AI-generated descriptions, like, "In Geometry Dash I Spy with my little eye, you will overcome countless challenging challenges. Fly like a lightning-fast rocket past the spikes and obstacles ahead." Of course, they also sprinkle in some other random games or weird GD clones, but that's to be expected. The most notable of these websites is geometry-dash.io, which has hundreds, maybe even thousands of these stolen Scratch projects. But really, there's tons of these websites. The more you look, the more you'll find. And it's not just Geometry Dash. You'll also find these for FNAF, Happy Wheels, Wordle, Slope, Backrooms, and so on. And even though these websites sometimes give you what you want, they are there specifically to trick you. They all run on the same code, so to spot one, just look for a footer that looks like this, or a comment section kind of like this. So that's where my last video ended. But lots has happened since then. For example, if you search Geometry Dash on Google, it says that some results have been removed due to a copyright complaint from the one and only RobTop Games. Turns out, he's been sending multiple of these and they actually work. The search results are improving and some bad websites don't even appear anymore. But it's pretty obvious that if you strike down one of these websites, 2 more will grow back. And for some reason, geometry-dash.io never dies. Probably because they keep changing their homepage to a different link. Speaking of that website, did you know that there's actually a kids.geometry-dash.io? I could not tell you why this exists, but it seems to have less ads, so maybe it's a legal thing. Also, a few days after I posted my video, gd.io added a disclaimer to their website, a non-official fan-made version of Geometry Dash. Then this September, they added, "We are not the official game," in capital letters. They also credited the creator of the Scratch project. But if you go to the website now, you'll notice 2 things. Firstly, that disclaimer has been banished to a link all the way at the bottom of the page. And secondly, they're not running the Scratch version anymore. You see, as impressive as it is, Scratch Geometry Dash obviously doesn't play that well, and it's just a stolen project made by someone else. What these websites needed was a game that actually looked and played exactly like real Geometry Dash, a recreation of the game so impressive that you could barely tell it apart from the real thing, and above all else, a game that they could have full control over the development of. This video isn't about the existence of these fake Geometry Dash websites or the Scratch games that they steal, nor is it about all those other weird ripoffs that they also host. This video is about one single Geometry Dash clone that I've spent months of my life investigating, a game with the ambitious goal of becoming a perfect copy of Geometry Dash. A game that would undergo dozens of strange updates and break out into multiple spin-off games. A game that would build their own RobTop levels, and a game that would steal levels that never existed to begin with. But most importantly, a game that would absolutely break me as a human being. This is the story of Geometry Light. So, as much as I would love to jump right into the lore of this game,
And
there's a few
sure
other
you-
GD copies I need to quickly highlight for context. And the first one actually shows up in my last fake GD video at 6 minutes and 25 seconds. There's Geometry Dash Unblocked, which is your more traditional Geometry Dash copy and not something made on Scratch. The levels are actually recreations of the Geometry Dash ones, like Associations is actually Clubstep with the monsters and everything. This is GeoJump, a pretty terrible copy of Geometry Dash that's been around for years. Despite the weird level names like Preamble, Let's Go, Gravitational, they're just really sad recreations of the main GD levels. However, Stereo Madness was replaced with some weird knockoff version fresh out of the recent tab. The game goes all the way up to Electrodynamics, or Planet Hunt, but as you can see, it looks and plays terribly. But what I want you to focus on is the music. It turns out that this game exclusively uses old tracks by F777, who you might know is the creator of Deadlock, Sonic Blaster, and many other bangers. I asked him if he knew about this, and sure enough, they just grabbed these songs without permission. Funny enough, this game actually has a second version. It has a proper menu and uses the actual Geometry Dash songs, but they obviously don't sync. There's also a bunch of funky icons to pick from, as well as a shuffle button, which I made, by the way, for my Icon Kit website. Then that game got a second version, adding all the levels up to Finger Dash. And this time they don't have weird names, but that doesn't stop them from being awful. Then they made GeoJump World, which is the 10 GD World levels followed by the challenge as an 11th. Once again, not good. I would even argue that the Scratch games play better than this. I thought it ended there, but then someone on Twitter sent me Slope Ball, a game about a heroic ball exploring several mysterious islands. It's just the exact same game rotated 10 degrees! Aside from making you a ball, they also cleaned up the menu and improved the physics a bit, but there's still nothing going for this game. The other game I need to quickly cover is what I call GD Unity, because it's a really faithful recreation of Geometry Dash made in the Unity game engine. I went over this game in GD Copy 7, so I'll keep it brief. Although this game looks really impressive, it has its flaws. They tried to recreate all the menus, but the buttons do nothing and there's typos everywhere. My favorites are Progress Bar and Quiche Checkpoint Mode. You can choose any icon from Geometry Dash, but death effects don't work and you're always forced to use the fire trail. The achievements menu is weird, and as it turns out, all the textures there come from me, from the old achievement page on my website GD browser. Finally, and most importantly, the music doesn't sync and the physics suck. The ship gravity is brutal, the cube can bonk its head, the UFO is... what? And it gets significantly worse. Much like GeoJump, this game goes up to Electrodynamics, but all signs point to it being a completely different project by a different developer entirely. I actually got a hold of the developer at one point, but he didn't provide much useful information, and now he's completely ghosting me. You can't deny that this game lays a pretty good foundation, so it ended up branching out into a lot of spin-offs, like Meltdown, which turned out decent, but obviously has its flaws. Sub-Zero only has press start, and it's actually some weird extended version of the level. The ending is weirdly difficult. And it uses Geometrical Dominator! You had one job! There's also a Bloodbath spin-off for some reason, but this transition is impossible because every portal resets you to normal gravity. But I data mined the game, and yes, it is the entire level. It's faithful, but there's definitely some mistakes, like using the X object here, leaving out some creator logos, and filling in all the blank spaces with this object for some reason. Geometry Dash Scratch is probably the weirdest of the bunch, because it's the exact same as Meltdown, but they just changed the logo. I really could not explain the logic behind this one. Finally, they did Geometry Dash Breeze, which is actually a fan game by the creator Drexel. He makes really good RobTop styled levels, and you can play them all from his account. My favorite is Into the Zone, it plays so nicely. But yeah, for some reason they made the first 3 levels a breeze. I don't know if that's an honor or kind of concerning. Once again, it's not great, and the spider is pretty silly. This game will show up again later, but for now, we can finally head back to geometrydash.io, which is where this story really begins. And let me just explain how this video is gonna work. First, we're gonna go over the history of this website, everything they've done since my last video, as well as all the details of that Geometry Light game I keep hinting about. Then we'll get into how the website starts to take a weird turn, and finally, I'm gonna completely tear it apart with data mining, clue gathering, and everything in between. This is something I've been investigating like a maniac for months, so strap in. Starting off, shortly after my last fake GD video, I realized that I should probably keep a closer eye on this website, So I set up a bot that posts to Twitter every time they add a new Scratch game to their lineup. When that video came out in November of 2022, it seems like they were in the middle of a 9 circles phase, adding levels like Down Bass, Crimson Clutter, Astronaut 13, just to name a few. In December, they claimed to add Sub-Zero, but it was just this random game. Then they changed it to the Scratch one a few days later. Following that, they would go on to add Scratch versions of Dryout all the way up to Finger Dash, even linking these games right from their homepage. Then they began working their way up the Gauntlet levels, with this masterpiece making its way onto the site on March 16th, 2023. June 30, we saw I Spy, July 18th, we got Limbo, and then Change of Scene on the 21st. On August 5th, there was a lot of Skibbity Toilet and Among Dash. September added Mario Dash, which was, this. We also got Egg Dash and Spooky Dash, which are popular Scratch projects by Chipmunk with completely original levels and a new engine that runs much better than the other Scratch Geometry Dash. The site also started moving all their Scratch games to Turbo Warp, which is just a faster Scratch. In January of this year, they added Mario 64. It's literally just Mario 64, I'm not even joking. I have no idea how they got away with this. Someone on Twitter even beat it. They also added Lobotomy Dash, which is...
Fire in the hole! Fire in the hole! Fire in the hole! Fire in the hole! Fire in the hole!
Gotta love the default Unity physics. Turns out this one's hosted on lobotomydash.com, which is yet another fake Geometry Dash website where this is the front page game. It has a corner where you can watch Lobotomy Dash videos, and a long AI-generated description stating that a lobotomy is the process of curing mental illness by causing brain damage. It sounds absurd, but its effectiveness will surprise you. Finally, this April they added Dash Spider. The funniest part about this one is that they literally forgot to add a game. It's just a blank screen, there's no data. To this day, they're still adding more Scratch games and the occasional other slop you'd come to expect. Oh, and how could I forget? Back on the 8th of August, just before the 10-year anniversary of Geometry Dash, there was this random other game they added with the name Geometry Dash Lite. Normally, this isn't a very big deal, but this time, Scratch Geometry Dash vanished from the homepage of the site, and this game took its place. Right away, let's clear up that this is not the Unity version of Geometry Dash I showed earlier. It is made in Unity, but to keep things simple, we'll call this one Geometry Dash Unity, and this one Geometry Lite, which is also the display name for Real GD Lite on Apple devices. Just from looking at the menu, it's clear that this game is in a pretty unfinished state. Most of the menu options are labeled as coming soon, including Newgrounds, the only settings are for volume, and you can't choose a custom icon, despite the fact that they're literally flying by on the menu. The info box in the corner states that this is version 1.0, and the developer is geometrylight.io, which the More Games button also takes you to. It's yet another one of those fake GD sites, but back when this was released, this was the only game available on it. Once you press play, following a painfully slow transition, you're met with every level up until Jumper. Give one of them a try, and... yeah, so this is the most perfect recreation of Geometry Dash that I've ever seen. It looks almost identical to the real thing, and the physics are more accurate than any other clone I've ever played. Even the ship controls surprisingly nicely. My only real nitpick is that, like with most copies, there's zero orb buffering. Also, the levels are literally one-to-one. Every tiny detail is placed correctly, and I have a suspicion that these were somehow ported over directly from the real game, which is definitely possible because I've done it many times. Now, is this game perfect? No, obviously not. The menu transitions take forever, respawning in practice resets your velocity, the pulsing rods sometimes have hearts, dryout is one word, and overall things just still feel kind of off. But whoever made this game still cooked really hard, and I respect them for it. I just wish it wasn't made solely as a cash grab for scam websites. But this is only version 1.0, so what's this game gonna do next? Well, 1 week later, they released version 0.38. Yes, it went backwards. As far as I can tell, the only difference in this version is that Jumper is now rated D-Min, but everything else is the same. Over the next few months, they continue to update the game, even leaving a changelog on geometrydash.io. Safe to say, this was their game, which unlike Scratch, they had full control over. The most notable additions were Time Machine through X-Step being added, and them dropping 2.2 months before RobTop did. I'm not really sure what fixed practice mode color change means, but by this version, the checkpoints were now blue instead of green. Not to mention, the progress bar setting was now progress bar, and auto checkpoints capitalized the letter P. As far as the main menu went, everything was still coming soon. But aside from that, they were still making steady progress. Jumper's difficulty was corrected, Dryout got its space back, the menu fading was cut entirely, the heart rods were gone, sadly, the icon and ship were changed to this, the ball controlled fine, but definitely felt more weird than the others, and the new levels were correct. On the flip side, orb buffering was still absent, and they didn't even try with the mirror portal. So at this point you might be thinking, is this really that impressive? These are pretty easy levels to remake. You can literally fit every object and trigger in this single screenshot. This is just Geometry Dash 1.3, but there's coins, and you can't even pick an icon. And yeah, that's a pretty good point. It's cool, but not mind-blowing. What are they gonna do next? Add Clutterfunk? Oh. Well, I guess it's not that hard to make. Oh! Yeah, so just a few days later, they dropped World and Sub-Zero on the exact same day, November 27th, 2023. To no one's surprise, Geometry World just copies the exact same menu and engine as Geometry Light, and disappointingly, it's only the first 3 levels of the game. You know, the ones that don't have any move triggers, but they did get color channels working as well as the animated objects, so props to them. 1 month later, just after Christmas, they would go on to add level 4, Years. And yeah, they got stuff moving. It was bound to happen eventually. Geometry Sub-Zero, on the other hand, was a lot more interesting, because when this game came out, there was no menu, pausing, or even practice mode. It just thrusts you right into press start and there's no way to leave. You're also now rocking the default icon set, except for the ball, which is this for some reason. And we get our first look at the robot. Spoilers, it doesn't control that great. But who am I to talk when they literally made press start? The effects, camera triggers, reversing, and everything in between. Though it is the old version from before the coins were reworked, and unlike Geometry Light, it was definitely made by hand rather than being ripped from the actual game. 1 month later, after the GD World update, they got around to adding a proper menu for the game, but it was very apparent that this was a brand new menu made from the ground up. The buttons are in slightly different places, and the only icons in the background are the default ones, except once again, the ball. Over in the pause menu, they fixed the progress bar typo, and despite what the button says, checkpoints were green again. For some reason, the level was called Press Start Full, even though it's just the normal version. But you can't really argue with 34 million views. Unlike Light and World, there's also a coming soon screen. Oh, and did I mention they added Knock'em? Not really much to say here, it's Knock'em. This level gives us our first look at the wave, and it does not control well. Which is weird, because how do you mess up the wave? We also get to try out the spider, which works, but looks kinda stupid. And on the main menu, it jumps for some reason. By the way, you know how Knock'em used to have really terrible coins? Well, somehow they made them even worse. The first coin is missing its little sparkle, so there's even less indication of it. The second coin's key is missing, so you just get it for free. And the last coin just doesn't exist. Finally, another month later, in late January, they added Power Trip. Once again, it's exactly what you'd expect, but they removed the smiley face in the wave part. And not only is this message not randomized anymore, but it just turns green on its own. Normally you have to click for that. Also, the second message does it too. To nobody's surprise, you get the last coin for free. They actually patched the spider exploit in this level, which technically puts them one step ahead of RobTop, but it's also iconic to the level at this point. Same goes for the robot. Also in January, they finally got around to releasing Meltdown, but they kind of phoned it in seeing that it's just one level, and they never added more. They also forgot the key at the start, but luckily they pushed an emergency update 1 day later that re-adds it, so it would be rude to say that they didn't care. Otherwise, this is just 7 Cs with nothing interesting about it. They went back to using the menu and icons from Geometry Light, so I'm not really sure why Sub-Zero didn't. And there you have it, the complete Geometry Light series. They never got around to updating the base game past X Step, and basic features like the icon kit never happened either. So now that I've more or less set the scene, this is where the story actually begins. Remember how I said that there was another Scratch Geometry Dash game that wasn't a remix of the one by Griff Patch? This one, Spooky Dash by Chipmunk. It came out on October 27th, 2023, and it showed up on geometrydash.io 3 days later in time for Halloween. It's actually a really impressive game. It only has 1 level, Spooky Scary Skeletons, but it's completely original and the gameplay is great. It feels very RobTop styled, but like 1.0 RobTop styled. Nobody really makes this kind of gameplay anymore, so playing a level like this was a really great experience. On top of that, this game comes with an icon kit, and even a whole level editor which has formed a very passionate community. I'll leave a link to the Scratch project in the description in case you want to try it for yourself. Again, the level is unironically great. And the reason I bring this up is because a little while later, in the middle of December, my bot notified me that they stole the game a second time. but this time under the name Geometry Spooky Dash instead of just Spooky Dash. So then what happened to the first one? Okay, it's a different game, I guess, but what did they change it to? No, they didn't. I refuse to believe it. They made a copy of a Geometry Dash game that never even existed to begin with. Here's a side-by-side comparison, and as you can see, it's basically the same level. This is the only one in the game, and like I said before, it is in fact a really good level. Even the coin placements are really nicely thought out, which is rare to see nowadays. It's also cool to see a 1.0 styled level mixed with some extra decorations like cobwebs and fences. But the reason this is so crazy to me is that this level's scary skeletons, or just spooky in the version they stole, has never existed, in real Geometry Dash at least. It was made by Chipmunk, in Scratch, for Scratch. I searched all over Geometry Dash for this level, but it simply isn't there. Yet, they stole it anyways. These guys have no chill. But it's not just the level they stole. Yes, it's running on the same geometry light physics as all the other games, but they redid all of the menus to match the Scratch project, even going as far as to use the same sound effects. They even copied the Choose Your Spook screen, making this the first Geometry Light game where you can choose an icon. And I'm sure you won't be surprised to hear that there's no credit anywhere in this game. It's blatant thievery. Aside from the obvious, I think one of the funniest parts of their Spooky Dash copy is that it came out in December. So if this was supposed to be a Halloween game, they completely missed the bus. But you know what they were just in time for? Yup, they made a Christmas Dash. Just like the last game, it has a Scratch-themed menu and only one level. It's also 1.0 styled with a few festive decorations, and again, it plays pretty nicely. However, unlike last time, the music is just a generic Christmas stock song and there's no sync at all. But hold on, there's no Christmas Dash on Scratch, so who are they stealing from? Yes! It turns out, and I'm not making this up, they just took a bunch of parts from Spooky Dash and rearranged the order they appear in. Don't get me wrong, this is a different level, but it's made with individual parts of scary skeletons. And if you think that's weird, then they sprinkle in some poltergeist followed by the ship part in Back on Track. They put so much effort into making this level unoriginal, it's almost impressive. The final product is this weird, unholy fusion of levels with zero sync. The first coin is given for free, the second one comes from Spooky Dash, and the third one is Back on Track. Nothing about this makes sense, and that's exactly why I was so fascinated by it. But the laziness doesn't end there. Remember all the decorations from Spooky Dash, like these fences? All they did was retexture them a little bit. The floating candles are now various things, the grass is now Christmas trees, and the cobwebs are now snow cobwebs. Yeah, they didn't even try. Also, the icons you can choose are mostly Santa heads, but more importantly, what the f*** is a ZAS? Final verdict, this game is a disaster, and yet I kind of love it for that. Whoever made Geometry Light cares so much about making the game as accurate as possible to real Geometry Dash, but also cares so little about everything else. And that's basically the bootleg game industry in a nutshell. Great, so this brings us up to 6 Geometry Light games, all running the same code and released in the span of about 5 months. People are playing them, the comments from children are rolling in, and things are going great. So what's their next move? Surely it's something predictable and easy that won't make me